Welcome back to the Life Skills 101 podcast. I'm Martin Curry, and I'm joined by my co-host Rebecca Weston, and today we'll be speaking with Mariana Queiroz, who graduated with a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology and now works at the ISSO as an Outgoing Exchange Coordinator. So with that intro out of the way, I'd like to invite Mariana onto the show here with me. Mariana, how are you today?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm quite good.
Nice to meet you finally.
Yes, nice to meet you too.
So we're just going to get started with a few warm-up questions, if that's good. Okay with you. Mm-hmm. I guess the first one would be, if you had to choose between waffles, crepes, and pancakes, what would you choose and why?
I choose waffles.
Waffles?
They're just, I like the crunchiness that they can have to it.
Okay.
And I like putting the syrup in each of the holes of the
okay, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. You can have some without, some with.
Exactly,
perfect.
yeah. It's kind of like a fun game while you're eating.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. And when you were at Carleton, I guess you're at Carleton now, but yes. Studying at Carleton, did you have a certain favorite study spot to go to?
I try to choose random tables, usually on the tunnels, just because of winter. I didn't like going to the library just because it's always busy. That's what I felt like. So me and my friends would just meet somewhere random in the tunnels kind of thing, and then after we're done, go enjoy the outdoors.
For sure. Well, maybe not in the winter, but
yeah, I guess.
And then the last of the warm-up questions is, if you had one Carleton memory to relive for the first time, what would it be? You can think about it. You can come back to it.
I was gonna say that's hard. Yeah. One Carleton memory.
We can come back if you want.
I can think of so many. I think the problem is I can think of so many. I'll say one. I think my first Panda game. It was the first time ever that I was watching American soccer, I guess, football. And I still don't understand the rules. I didn't at the time. It was just, I think it was just seeing everyone come together, seeing the Ravens identity kind of thing that everyone has. So that was a great experience. It wasn't about the game. It was just being with the community and cheering and everyone wearing the colors and pinks and things like that. So yeah, that was a memorable experience.
Just making you a Raven in that
exactly moment. Yeah It was the transition. I was like, wow, I'm part of this now.
Okay. I feel like it's the embodiment of school spirit though.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everyone's wearing red, black, and white.
Exactly.
We're all chanting the same thing. You're just a part of a collective.
Yeah, it's like a unity. Yeah.
Oh, I like that. Okay, so now for the serious questions.
Yes, okay.
All right. So we're here to talk to you about sort of your experience as an international student and how that sort of led to where you are today. Yeah. And this is part of the all-encompassing self-identity series that we're doing. It'll be a multi-part episode, so focusing on that international student experience. My first question for you is, what did you study and what made you want to pursue that degree at a Canadian university specifically, such as Carleton?
Here at Carleton, yes.
Yeah.
So I studied psychology. I did my bachelor's here at Carleton. The reason I wanted to study, I guess, in Canada specifically was because I knew I didn't want to stay in the country I was. I'm originally from Brazil. And I love my country. I love my city. My family's still there. I miss the culture and all of that. But I just always been attracted to, I guess, the idea, the things you see in the movies and on TV shows. And both my parents, for a period of their lives, lived in the States. So I think I had that influence of just going abroad to see what's out there kind of thing. I chose Canada because I already spoke English, and they seem more open to, I guess, immigrants and having that various cultures come into one country kind of thing. Carleton ended up being on my list. After a lot of research, I talked to different university representatives and a lot of Google searches, and somehow Carleton ended up there. I do not remember exactly how. It's been a few years now, but it was really a mix of a wish that I had mixed with instinct, I guess. I'd never been to Canada before. I didn't really know a lot about besides what other people told me and what I could find on Google. So Ottawa seemed like a fun city. It seemed like a bit similar to where I'm from. I'm from Brasilia, which is also the capital. So I kind of just did a capital to capital move. But yeah, it was a little bit of a lucky guess. Now that when people ask me this question now and I have to think about how I make this decision, it seems a bit random. I think I'm just lucky that it all worked out, and I was really just following that instinct of being like, this is what I want, let's go for it and see what happens.
I felt like the right choice too, I'm sure.
It did.
Yeah.
I never regret it, I can say that for sure. So it worked out, but it's just one of those things that my decision-making process now is not the same as when I was 18, when I made the choice to come abroad. But all in all, it worked out.
Okay, well, having said that, if you had to make that choice again now, would you make the same choice?
Yeah, honestly, yeah, I would, because I think it was just something that I always wanted. So it always was on the back of my mind of like, I want to go abroad one day. And I think studying was just the easiest way to do that, instead of like doing university in Brazil and then having to figure out all the steps of like finding a job. Like that seems too complicated for me. So I think the timing was right in that sense. I don't know like how I would have ended up with Carleton and Ottawa, right? Like would I wanted to like, I don't know, do more research, travel here before, just have like something more besides.
Make a more informed decision.
Yeah,
maybe.
right? Yeah. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm just so curious. Did you have other countries on like your list of places that you knew you wanted to study? Or what other countries would those have been?
Yeah, no, it was just Canada actually. Yeah, it was Canada because of the English part of it. I had been to the US before, so I kind of assumed like the culture would be a bit similar, or I hoped it would be enough for me to not have like a big culture shock. And distance wise, I guess it was what made sense. Like, yeah, I'm pretty sure Canada is closer to Brazil than like anywhere else in like Europe or like other English speaking countries that I could think of. Yeah, it was just Canada.
Fair enough. So you now work at the ISSO as an outgoing exchange coordinator.
Exactly.
And, to me, that seems like a logical progression of being an international student and then working at the ISSO.
Yeah.
But would you want to just walk, us through how, that job or what that job looks like, and how, being an international student's influenced that decision?
Yeah, of course. So outgoing exchange coordinator, I oversee the outgoing exchange program. For any students who don't know what that is, so all Carleton students have an opportunity to study abroad for a semester for the full academic year. It's just an opportunity available for Carleton students. So I oversee the program. So helping students with like making decisions, applying to the institution, accommodations, visa, all those requirements to get our students out in the world kind of thing. So that's the specifics of my job. How I got into that from I guess, international student to outgoing exchange coordinator. As a student, I volunteered at the ISSO. So the ISSO has a lot of events. And first I participated in them to kind of like transition to Canada. And then I started volunteering as a way to get to know other international students and just explore Ottawa. And then from there, I worked at the ISSO for a year. So I've always been involved with the office, other offices at Carleton too, but the ISSO, I just always had a connection because of the international piece, right? It's an office that is like catered to international needs. So I just felt more connected to them. So I knew I wanted to work with international students. That was like one of the only or like main things when I graduated. Even though I did my BA in psychology, I was like, I don't want to be a psychologist. I'm not going down that path, right? So what do I want? So I knew working with the international community was a focus of mine. Just I had that pull, that connection with them. So I've had a few jobs now at the ISSO. Just throughout like the pandemic and different experiences and things like that. Right now, I'm working with exchange, which I love and is very fun. It's interesting because I don't work with international students as much now, right? I work with mostly domestic students
who want to become international, who
want to go on exchange. So it's kind of the other side, which is very interesting. So I still get to work with a bunch of students. I still am working with the Carleton community. And in a way, I still have that connection piece because those are students who want to like live abroad if it's 6 months, a year, or whatever it is. Those are students who are learning a second language. Those are students who are interested in other cultures, which is everything that I was before I came here. So even though I came here and stayed, and those students are going for like a short period of time, there's still a connection piece there. So it's very interesting to see that. And just by being in the office, I still obviously connect with international students and like events and our welcome week and all of that. So I I get to see both, like both sides of it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do you think your experience as an international student helps in that sense?
It definitely helped to like in the beginning of this experience when I was in, I guess, a transition from like student to working, and because I knew I wanted to work with international students, it helped give me that focus of like, okay, this is the community that I'm going for, so these are the kind of jobs that I'm looking for, and it helped with the ISSO because I had worked with them and volunteered with them. So yeah, I wasn't like a complete stranger. I was just like, hello, it's me, I'm back. Or like I never left, I guess. Kind of thing. But it definitely helps when we're having, especially I think our welcome events, because this is a lot of like new international students, and I'm like, I remember this. Like I had orientation. I remember the feelings of like you're anxious and you're excited and you're stressed and you're happy and all of that mix of emotions. So I always have like a lot of fun in the first few weeks here at Carleton, getting to know the new international student cohort, because it brings me back to like what I experienced. And part of me is like, this is the path that I've gone. Obviously everyone has their own path, but it's kind of like, I don't know, I consider it it was good, it was a good, it worked out.
Yeah, you're kind of reliving the experience
Yeah,
again through them.
exactly. Yeah. Honestly, I have a lot of fun because I get all the photos. We unfortunately don't get to travel, but I do receive all the photos and the feedbacks. Japan has been really popular lately, and it's just very interesting. Like a lot of our students have been going there. And thankfully, like the institutions they go is like English speaking. But I think it's a very different culture. And my grandma is Japanese actually. So I never been to Japan. She has been a couple of times. So just seeing the students there experience those things, I'm like, that is so cool. It's yeah, it's connected to my family in some way, more of my grandma's side. But yeah, I just have fun. Honestly, seeing any of the pictures is very nice. Who doesn't want to travel?
Yeah, doesn't want to get postcards either. So in taking, such a large step with your life in terms of moving internationally, do you feel that had an impact on how you see yourself?
It's funny because I do hear that a lot, that people are like, wow, that's so brave of you. And I don't think that's something I was thinking when I was coming. I was like, wow, I'm so brave. It felt a little bit crazy in a way, right? To just leave all that I know behind to kind of start over in a new country. Why would I want to do that, right? Why don't just like stay at home where things are safe? I think over the years, yes. As I settled here in Canada and saw that this is where I want to stay, I like the life that I have here, the life that I build here. It allowed me to reflect a bit more on the decisions I made. So the things that I left behind and the things that I have achieved. So there is a bit of like a proud feeling that I get of like, I really did do this. This is something that I like. It's a big accomplishment, I think. And obviously there's so many like immigrants and international students that go through like similar paths. But I think taking the time to reflect on like the emotional roller coaster that it is to move your life to a new country does give that sense of like, wow, I did go through like all these obstacles. It was hard, but I did overcome all of this. So in addition, I guess, to that proudness, it does also give a better sense of like my strength or the things that I can accomplish when I put my mind to, kind of thing, But yeah, I always find it interesting talking to I think it helps when I talk to other people and they have that reflection, like you said, of, the courage and wow, it was such a big step. And I'm like, damn, it was a big step. Yeah. that you're right. Yeah.
Do you think that choice has made it easier to make like harder choices like that, down the line?
In a sense, yes. I think because it worked out so well, because I came here and really enjoyed
survivorship bias.
Exactly, right? Yeah. I was like, damn, that was a great decision. I enjoyed it. Like, I overcame all this and built a life that I really love here. So I think it made me more sure of myself, I was like, I didn't really have a lot to make that decision. back then, and it all worked out. So like other decisions that I do have more information are a little bit easier to make. And I don't think I've made any other decisions as life-changing as that one since
Will you
I've
be
come
ready
here.
for it if it happens?
Right? I like to think so. I would still have the anxiety and stress that comes with any big decision making. That I don't think that ever goes away, but at least the confidence in myself and the knowledge that I can make big decisions, you know. The biggest challenge was, and still is, being away from my family. In Brazil, our culture is very family focused. It's extremely common for people to live at home until like their late 20s, early 30s, which is like, I basically grew up thinking that that was going to be my life, right? So for the first, I guess, like 16 to 17 years of my life, I thought I was gonna, just like live at home until, I don't know, I got a job, a stable job, and was able to move out, or met someone and was able to move out, or something like that. So growing up with this, and then around 16, 17, when I made the decision of like, no, this is not what I want. I think that was the hardest part, both for me and for my family, to have that knowledge of like, okay, all the things that we thought we were gonna have for years to come, we won't. So all the birthdays and holidays, and even the like, just the get-togethers that happen here and there, like I missed on all of that, right? So that's like, far ahead, the biggest challenge of moving. The way I overcame this, or the way I don't know if it's a challenge that you necessarily can overcome. I'll always miss my family. It's not something that I get over with, kind of thing. It's just something that I've learned to live with. And the way that I do that is just by reflecting on the life that I have here. So all the things that I get to have here that I know I wouldn't have if I had stayed home. In the end, for me at least, obviously personal thing, for me, it's worth it. So for me, it's worth to live the life that I have here with the independence that I have, with the, I don't know, the way that the systems work here and the support that you have, the community way, all those like differences that you have country to country. For me, it makes sense to stay here, and continue to live this life, and then, you know, connect with family online, WhatsApp calls, all those things. Technology exists to help us. So that definitely helps a lot. But it's something that it's something that I built on. The first few years were definitely the hardest. And thankfully, I was able to go visit my family twice a year in the first few years, I think. And then like once a year. And now it's kind of once every 2 years because of the pandemic. So that messed things a little bit. But I still maintain like contact with them enough to be like, okay, it's just one of those things that I was like, okay, this is the right choice. At no point my family was like, why did you do this, right? They've always been supportive, so that helped a lot too. And wow, this is awesome, you're gonna go, and when you come back to see us, you can tell us all your like stories and things like that. So yeah.
Was there ever a point where you felt like you had made the wrong choice after moving, or were you pretty sure?
No, I never I never felt like I made the wrong choice. I remember my dad, when I told him that I wanted to come to Canada, he wanted me to still enroll in a university in Brazil just in case I didn't like it. And I was like, why won't I like it? What do you mean? Like, I was so sure. I'm telling you, I was so sure that I was gonna like it. And I think that probably influenced my time here, right? Like, if I'm so sure I'm gonna like it, I'm gonna do everything in my power to enjoy my time here, right? So I'm volunteering, I'm working, I'm going to events, I'm socializing, I'm doing all of that to make the time, like, to make sense, right? Like, why am I here? So no, I never felt like regret or like I should like change my mind. It's just, I think from the beginning, I accepted. I was like, this is just something that is going to be part of my life now. Like, I'm going to miss those other things, but I'm also gaining all of these other things.
Right.
I guess the first part then was the emotional challenge. This is the
financial one.
Yeah, the logistic side of it. So yes, being an international student is extremely expensive. I think tuition can be like, it depends on the program, but like 2 to 3 times at least what domestic students pay. And you're not counting conversion rates, right? Because each country has, so that makes it even harder. So how did I cope? So basically, well, my family is very supportive, thankfully, and I know not all international students are able, I guess, to come or like to study in other countries because of the financial considerations. For me, the way that it worked out is that a few members of my family contributed to it. So it was my dad helping with it. I had some savings. My dad, I guess, had some savings for me. The idea was that I was supposed to use to buy my first car in Brazil. That's what it was saved for. And then it was used for university. So thankfully, those savings were growing for my first 18 years of life. And my grandparents on both sides of the family also pitched in. So I know I'm very lucky, and the privilege that comes with knowing that my family was gonna help me definitely made this easier. There was still stresses in terms of the deadlines and you know, sending money abroad and how that whole process works. And because of the conversion rate, sometimes you think, you know, this is the amount of money, but the dollar might be more expensive today than it was like a week ago, and then that changes. So dealing with all of that was definitely a stressor. I was very relieved when I made my last my last tuition payment. It was, yeah, it felt good to know that I wouldn't have to have those like awkward conversations about money anymore. That I didn't have to be worried about like, oh, do I need to ask my grandpa for more money? Because that's extremely uncomfortable, because my grandpa was one of those people that is just like, yes, like take it all, right? And I don't want to take advantage, but I know he wants to help. And I know my whole family was there to like make this happen, but it's still expensive. That's the reality of it. I guess the second thing that I did to help with all of that was working. So I started working in my second year. I agreed with my family that my first year was going to be focused on the transition. You know, there's too much going on for me to also have to figure out the Canadian work environment. So that first year was just like studies and figuring out life in Canada. And from then on, I started working. So technically, I've worked at Carleton since my second year here. Like every year, I worked at a different department. And that helped a lot, even if it's just for like the food and like day-to-day cost that my family didn't have to worry about, especially because working here means I'm getting paid in Canadian dollars. So at least it's the same than what they're able to send. But yeah, thankfully, the tuition payments were done, and that's not a thing I have to worry about anymore. People talk about it all the time. We got so many questions at the ISSO about this, right? And it's not, unfortunately, it's not something we can do anything about, right? Like you can have grants and things like that, but even then, like how many grants are for international students, right?
And even then, how much does it really offset?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I wish, when we get those questions, is one of those things that like I understand, and unfortunately the way that I coped with it was just by going through it. Right, there was nothing else that we were able to do. And like it's not like we can get government funding or like OSAP or anything like that. I know like some countries might have funding like that, but for most international students, that's just it. You just pay. And
that seems like such a tricky like ultimatum though, because you're trying to move to a country that you know, sure, you've done a bit of Google searching around, but you really don't know much about it.
True.
You know, and you're expected to make this huge financial commitment and sacrifice, you know, leaving your family and friends behind.
Yes.
Like, I mean, I know we touched on this, like if you ever regretted it, but like, I guess in speaking with students, is there ever like a consensus that like, you know, they did make the wrong choice? Like, or is it mostly like one of those things where like if you're willing to put in all that time and effort to get here, you must have, you know, been sure of it somewhere along the line?
Fair. That is a great question. I think my response is going to be biased just for the fact that the students who I usually have those conversations, they're the ones who are like actively participating in our events, and or like when I worked at ISSO and I was a mentor. So I think it's biased because it's already students who are getting involved. And like I said, it might be because they want to make sure this is the best experience. Since I'm putting so much money on the line, might as well use all the resources I can, right? So I think that might affect a bit. There's definitely a consensus that is extremely expensive. That's something that always comes up. I will say I have not spoken to a student who has like said like I wish I wouldn't have not come or something like that. That has not happened. All the students that I've talked to, they talk about their obstacles, but that's the thing. A lot of them come here. The studying is just like part of the path that they have planned. So many of them are studying because they want to live here. So studying is just like the easier way to get the visa. And then from there you can work, and then from there you can move. So for a student who has like that big of a path already planned, they're definitely aware of like the expenses, right? So I think a lot of them just focus on the end goal of like, I want to move to Canada, so this is it kind of thing. And I know a lot of international students, they went to like an international school already in their country, so it's kind of like they already grew with that idea that when they graduated high school they were going to move somewhere else. So yeah, I definitely heard like the obstacles and how it has affected them, or how it has affected their mental health, their relationship with their family, but never explicitly like I shouldn't
have come here.
Exactly.
That's good, I think. Like just for anyone who's I mean, like if anyone who is unsure about, doing outgoing exchange or international students coming in, like the fact that people aren't unanimously saying, no, I wish I hadn't done it.
That's true. Yeah.
Surely that's reassuring a little bit, right?
Well, it takes like a big scary thing and makes it go, oh, but it was worth it. So it like the end result is always worth it.
Definitely.
That's the hope. Yeah. And for those students who are making those decisions, I think that's the thing, right? To that point that you get here, hopefully you already have an idea of like all these obstacles, but you still decided to come even with that awareness. I think that's the important piece of like, okay, it's part of it, unfortunately, right?
No, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Just being cognizant of those obstacles and being honest with yourself if that's something you're willing to do to live in Canada.
Yeah. And I don't know, the good news is that there are many, many other international students going through the same thing. So you'll definitely find someone to like talk to about it and kind of get that support of like, damn, this is hard. Yeah,
for sure. Any sort of final takeaways you want to offer any international students or potentially outgoing exchange students you'll be talking to before you leave?
That's true. Yeah. I guess the message that I can share for any, the international community, I guess the easier way of saying it, it really is to go after your goals, whatever they are. In my case, and throughout obviously this podcast, really was coming to Canada and building my life here. Doesn't matter what your goals and your dreams even are, and no matter how big and how small, you do have the potential to accomplish. I think that's something that I have learned. If it's something that you really want, even if it makes you scared, even if it causes, a lot of stress and anxiety, it might really be worth it to go through. Now that I'm here on the other side, or at least the other side of this initial goal of coming to Canada, there's always new obstacles and new dreams coming up. But now that I'm here and I've gone through it, like I said a million times, it was worth it. And I've enjoyed every little piece of my transition and my experience. So I think people really do have the potential to go after what they want and make the experience worth it. The negatives are always going to be there, but I don't think that should take away from the positives that you can have.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on to the show, Mariana. It's been wonderful speaking with you.
I had a lot of fun. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mariana, for coming on to the show to speak to us. I'm sure we got lots of good insights for international students or potentially outgoing exchange students. And I want to thank you, the audience, for tuning in. I've been Martin Curry, and I was joined by my co-host, Rebecca Weston, and this is the Life Skills team signing off.